Well, here I am again, and it's time to put the finishing touches on the Quakenbrück story. There'll be lots of pictures, and after that, I'll post a pretty long video that really tells the story. But I'd like to kind of give you a little deeper look at the situation so that you can really appreciate it. And this, I think, will really be appreciated by all the people of that town and the region around Quakenbrück because it's a special story. I've seen movies made about teams that were successful that had less substance than this one did. It begins, of course, with a team that's in the Regionalliga Second Division, Regionalliga Second Division, and things were just sort of coasting along. And at some point, the sponsor, who is to credit for almost everything that happened, and people sometimes underestimate what he did for that club and for the town. But Gunter Coleman was the backbone of the entire situation. I don't know whether that was his plan in the beginning for it to become what it did, but somehow it worked out that way. At any rate, there's so much to it. It's almost like a fairy tale, not Cinderella, not more on like Field of Dreams or Hoosiers or something like that. That's pretty much how the story goes. As it turns out, the men's team was just an average team, and Gunter, I think, wanted more. He himself had been a basketball player, a pretty good basketball player, was on a national team. And it just reached a point that the present coach at the men's level was not really pushing the team, getting as much out of it as he could or as was possible. And yet the townspeople were really, really behind this team. Let me put that in a special section, and that is that about 105 miles from Quakenbrück, there's a town called Hamlin, or Hamlin, as many of you will come to know. And there's a story in that town about the Pied Piper of Hamlin and how he, because of a bunch of different circumstances, went through the town with his flute and took all the children out of that town and took them to a cave somewhere, and they disappeared. Well, if you look at Quakenbrück on game day, that's what it was like. If drones had been there during that time, as popular as they are now, someone would have put a drone up and watched it. On game day, it was like the entire town, everybody, all the little streets and crannies, people were just flowing down the town, heading towards the gym. And the Artland Dragons were the Pied Piper. And Gunter was the guy that had that flute going, and things just went from there. It was just a really unique experience. I'll post some pictures of the fans, and on the video that will be posted, you'll also see how enthusiastic they were at the games. Anyway, to get back to the story, I don't think that the plan was for it to become what it did, because I really don't know what anybody could have expected. At any rate, what happened was they let go of the men's team head coach, and there was a young man there who had been playing there for 7 years since he got out of college, and Gunter decided to give him the head coach job. And he put this older coach there as his associate to sort of help him because he'd never coached before. Now, that young man's name is Chris Fleming. And I've said this in previous statements. Chris was born to be a coach. All I did was just sort of help him out in spots here and there. And I fought with the refs so he wouldn't get technical fouls because Chris has a little bit of a temper sometimes. But Chris stepped in, and from day one, he hit the ground running, and the program began. It was not easy recruiting first division type players to a town like Quakenbrück. At 13,000 people living in it. I think there was one, maybe two stoplights in the entire town. And there were even some, as the team began to be successful, there was even a lot of talk in the German media about the fact that, well, how could a town that small support a first division team? The gym was too small. It was too far they didn't have enough support. They didn't have enough money, this, that, and the other. And there were quite a few clubs did not want to see a small town. Everybody figured, oh, it was great for Frankfurt, for Berlin, for Cologne, Dusseldorf, places like that. Yeah, they could have first division teams, but not a small town like Quakenbrück. At any rate, Gunter and Chris and I and the town weren't listening to that. We just went out and started playing. And probably the key was not to get it takes a certain type of player to live in a small town. I mean, you come from a big college in the States and, you're looking to go to Europe and make a lot of money and you want to be in Frankfurt, you want to be in Berlin, you want to be in Munich. You don't want to be in a town where, there's only one stoplight. At any rate, we concentrated on as much the personality of the player as it was the talent of the player. And we tried to put together the best possible team of players that we could, that would fit what we wanted to get done. And it was great to have a sponsor who lets you do that without interference. He put everything, all the tools that we wanted or needed to build a team, he put on the table for us. And that made coaching fun. And even a funny story to that is, as things began to go well, Chris and I were given the opportunity to go to this bus company and look at a large tour bus and tell them how we wanted to have it changed so that the players would feel comfortable in it. I mean, you don't get that everywhere. At any rate, that's the type of support that we got. It wasn't all smooth sailing from go. What happened in the beginning, in the first year that we moved up and started to play well, we made it to the finals. And I'm sorry, it wasn't the finals. It was our last game. If we win this game, we move up. And if we don't, we don't. So what happened was, and he became the most dreaded person in Quakenbrück. There's a guy named Dwayne Washington. Dwayne played at Cologne, great player, great guy. I'll post a picture of him also. Dwayne hit a shot at the buzzer that ruined our chances of moving up. It was still a great season, but whatever. And then I made one of the mistakes that I've made a couple times in my career. I let myself, like that old Jerry Maguire movie, Show Me the Money. Well, there was a team that had just dropped out of the second division that was looking for a head coach because they wanted to get right back up into the pro area. And they offered me a contract. It was a pretty solid contract, and I followed the money. And there was, I went there. If you read my book, you'll find out what happened, but it wasn't a great experience. And then I moved to a different club mid-season and was a little more successful, was offered a head coach job on the pro level. But somehow I had never lost contact with Chris and all the players and people and all the teams and stuff and parents in Quakenbrück. So I decided to turn down the head coach job and go back and work with Chris. And that led to us we just rebonded. We had never really lost contact, but we rebonded. And we just started working to try to build a team to provide the best possible chance that we could get. And neither he nor I really thought about it throughout the entire season. And then game after game after game went by, and Chris and I never really ever talked about going undefeated. And in the end, we finished the season undefeated, 30-0, moved up into the first league, and I'll let the pictures tell the rest. I'm going to post a whole bunch of pictures, and then later I'll post the video that shows that championship season. And this is basically so that the people in Quakenbrück and the surrounding area, Fechte, Kloppenburg, every place else, will be able to look back and see these pictures and remember it as the special time that it was. It was just a fantastic time with a great bunch of guys: Michael Jordan, Johnny McNeil, AJ Granger, Niels Becker, Arno Holtman, Brian Bailey. It was just a great time. Darius Hall, the clown. It was just fun. And so when you see these pictures, for the Quakenbrück area people, it'll bring back some memories. For other people, you'll just enjoy a real fun story about a great bunch of players in a fantastic situation. So that's it. I'll let the pictures tell the rest of the story.